I decided to send a bunch of my cameras to the edge of space. I know this may sound crazy, but after months of extensive research and a lot of planning, I found out how to turn this into a reality. I had to buy the largest size weather balloon available that extends to over 30 feet when filled with helium. Next, I got 2 helium tanks because of how much helium fits inside the balloon. This is the package that I custom built to send to space. It fits 4 GoPros, a tracker, and a battery pack to keep everything charged. We calculated that the balloon would travel to over 115,000 feet up. This photo's only 85,000 feet up, so once it's even higher, it's gonna look crazy. The balloon will be in the air for over 4 hours, and depending on the weather, it could even land in Mexico. Once this travels up to over 100,000 feet, the balloon will pop and the parachute deploys. I'm gonna be doing this in the next day, so follow along because you guys are not gonna wanna miss this. I've always wondered what would happen if you trapped smoke inside of a box, so I tried it for myself. About 10 minutes later, I couldn't believe it. The box was super dark, and when I opened it, there was so much smoke trapped inside. About an hour later, I opened it again, and there was still smoke inside the container, and it was getting dark, so I decided to leave it there overnight and come back in the morning. Do you guys think the smoke will last? I got 50,000 rubber bands so I could wrap my camera around them and drop it off this building without my camera breaking. I started wrapping the rubber bands around, and at first it was kind of hard, but it actually started turning into a ball. We kept on wrapping them, and the more we wrapped them, the bigger the ball got, so we just kept on going, and before we knew it, the ball had gotten so big, it was bigger than my head and it was so heavy. That still wasn't enough for us, so we kept on wrapping it, and then it was time for a drop test, and I couldn't believe how bouncy it was. How many more rubber bands do you guys think we should wrap before we drop my camera? I got 50,000 rubber bands to wrap around my camera and drop off this building, part 2. Everyone commented saying to use all the rubber bands, so I ended up using them all, and after a few days, I'd finally finished, and the ball had gotten so big and we were ready to drop it. 3, 2, 1! But I finally started making progress, and you could start to see the camera. I had finally got almost all the rubber bands off, and my camera looked fine, but out of nowhere my lens popped off, and that's when I realized my camera was completely ruined. I honestly thought my camera was gonna survive, but what do you guys think I should wrap in rubber bands next? The other day I trapped smoke inside of a box, but no one's ever tried freezing smoke. My plan was to get this box completely filled up with smoke and then freeze it. I was able to get the box completely filled up, so I ran it over to my freezer, and I'm gonna leave it in here for 24 hours, and what do you guys think will happen to it? I trapped smoke in a box and put it in a freezer for 24 hours. After I got all the smoke trapped inside, I was ready to put it in the freezer, and 24 hours later, we were ready for the results. The first thing I noticed was how cold the box was. When I opened the box, it looked like some sort of water vapor had come out, but it was not the same color of the smoke. It looked like all the smoke had solidified under the walls of the container. When I touched it, it felt like wet paint, and it was pretty satisfying. I decided to try and clean the container. Now you guys know what happens when you try and freeze smoke. After everyone asking, I decided to wrap a Bang energy drink in rubber bands and drop it off this building and see if it breaks. I started wrapping the can, and I thought for sure it was gonna explode, but to my surprise, it actually survived. I decided to keep wrapping it for a few hours, and then we were finally ready to drop it off the building. 3, 2, 1! I don't know what you guys expected to happen, but I did not think it would explode that much, and the craziest part was it compressed so small. Here's what it looked like compared to a normal can. It was now time to start cutting it, and I had no clue what to expect. It was completely crushed, and here's what it looks like compared to how it started.